All right, welcome in everybody to the stream. We got me, Yash, Dale here talking some ball. How you fellas doing today?
Pretty good. I'm a .500 coach in every league now, officially.
Yeah, doing all right. I'm excited to kind of get into these rankings and see who's rising and falling. Definitely some guys that I'm going to be out on going into the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got some rankings adjustments today. We each prepared one player for each position that is going up and one player that is going down. So we have quick math, 6 players for every position. So we got 24 players we're talking through today. So it should be a fun one. If you guys are in the chat, you guys can fire off any questions, any thoughts about our rankings. Make sure to drop a like and drop a sub to the channel. Join our Discord, which has all our rankings for free, as well as just kind of our community that we're growing out. So come join. It's free. The link is in my bio, as well as I'll drop it in the chat at some point throughout the stream. With that being said, let's get straight into the rankings. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right. So rankings first. We're going to start with quarterbacks. We got, for my guy, we got Patrick Mahomes. For Yosh, we got Daniel Jones. And Dale has Drake May. So I'll start with Patrick Mahomes. We talked about it in our rankings last week. And I said I had him in S tier last week. And I think that's just even more solidified after what he did against the Lions this week. He's currently the QB1 in points per game. And I think we're still just kind of disrespecting him. I think across rankings, you're still seeing him as the QB 5, 6. And I think people have a weird bias with Mahomes about his age. And I think I don't know if it's age or I think it's like the last 2 years of production, like a little bit of mix of that, where he doesn't feel, I don't know, he's just not like a super sexy asset, or at least hasn't been the last couple of years. And if you look at his points per game in the first 4 years of his career, the first 5 years of his career, compared to the last two, it's clear that the last 2 years were a clear outlier, where he was hovering around 20 points per game. When the years before that, he was over 24, 25 points per game, which is kind of around where he is sitting this year. And I just think that we kind of need to move our expectations with him a little bit and respect that he's probably the best, if not the second best quarterback in the NFL. And he's getting there for fantasy. The Chiefs have no run game. Like, they're having to use him on the ground. I think that rushing production helps his floor. He's getting there through the air, and he's getting Rashee Rice back, which is just going to be a huge addition to the offense. And also the fact that the Chiefs are 3-3 and they haven't been winning games. I think it's going to be kind of some fun football for them to watch the next couple of weeks. They're going to be playing with a real sense of urgency. And I think we're going to be seeing the best of Mahomes. So I think rest of the season, I have him as a top 3 QB, depending on matchup. And I think you have to put him in the tier with Allen.
I love the take, and I agree that I think people are just tired of getting burnt by him. Like the past 2 years, taking him as quarterback 5, and he ends up as quarterback 10, which is still fine. Moving on to Daniel Jones, though, I don't know how you can hate his situation right now. You have talented receivers. I mean, Alec Pierce ain't that talented. Still a second-round pick, right? Josh Allen's better. But Tyler Warren, stud. JT, stud. Pittman, looking like an ex-receiver right now. Daniel Jones has all the tools he needs, and he just needs to play good football, which he is. And to check his rushing upside, it's not really there, but, I mean, he's not afraid to take off, which is nice. That's all I really got to say about Daniel Jones. I think he's just playing really good. I picked him up off waivers in a league. Before, when Kyler Murray got hurt, I picked up Daniel Jones off waivers. I'm like, what is my league doing? I think people are still just grossed out by the name, and I'm not. I'm in on Daniel Jones. I liked him last year because I thought it was more of a Giants problem, not a Daniel Jones problem. I like Daniel Jones.
Yeah, no, I like Daniel Jones too. I think that everybody's been pretty surprised by him, and I think that there are probably still some doubters just because of what he's been in the past. But
QB7 right now.
Yeah, it's hard to overlook him anymore. I mean, we're halfway through the season basically, and yeah, he's top 10 QB without a doubt. Just to talk about Drake May a little bit. I think that people have been a little bit low on Drake May, but we've always liked him. We know that the talent profile has been there. I mean, he's thrown above 70% completion rate. He goes for 3 touchdowns this week. He gives you 30 points. I just think it's hard to, another hard guy to doubt. Another thing I want to look at is like his matchups moving forward, right? He plays the Titans next week. He's probably got a rough matchup against Cleveland in week 8, but then he's got, the Falcons, the Bucks, the Jets, Bengals, Giants. Like, I'm not super scared of any of those teams. I think he's got some good matchups moving into the end of the season. So if you can get Drake May at a discount, then definitely somebody that I'm looking to go and grab if I can.
Doesn't hurt that his average QBR rating right now is 112.
Yeah.
That Daniel Jones is 100.
Yeah, I feel great about Drake May long term. And even so this season, I think another encouraging thing for his fantasy production this year is their run game's kind of been non-existent. Similar to the Chiefs and how we were talking about how they have no run game. Patriots are the same, if not even worse. Ramondre's was super inefficient. Travion Henderson can't even get on the field, and even when he has been on the field, he's not really flashing like we would hope. So they're having to rely on Drake May. He's getting a lot of volume, and he spreads the ball around too, which is kind of annoying, but I think it helps him in real life. But it's annoying for fantasy, like the way he spreads the ball around. But you do tend to see that from some of like the upper echelon quarterbacks. And I saw an interesting note that none of the pass catchers were playing like over 80% of snaps for the Patriots. That it's kind of just like an all-around rotation with them, which is interesting. And like we said, not my favorite for fantasy for like the pass catcher side of things. But for Drake May, I think it helps him. Like his receivers he's getting out there are fresh. And he's out there balling with Kayshon Boutte, like late round pick, Demario Douglas, UDFA, or was he a 7th round pick? I can't remember. 7th rounder. And the Stephon Diggs, who's 30 years old.
And coming off an ACL.
And coming off an ACL. So I think I'm super encouraged by Drake May. I think he's a buy-in dynasty, even with him trending up, just because I think like we still haven't seen like what even close to what this peak is going to be for him. I think.
I agree. I think all the hype he had in Dynasty last year was deserved.
Right.
Or 2 years ago, I think. However long.
How you doing, Bob Hope? Good to see you.
I was reading this. I'm leaning Sutton right now, based off matchups. And I think it was a dud week. I would probably go Sutton, Keenan, Myers, just because Myers don't love what he's been doing all season, and the Chiefs, I feel like, have good corners, to my knowledge.
I rank them the same, yeah.
Yep.
And May over Hurts for this week.
Yo, fiery tutor in there too. What's up?
Hey.
I think May over Hurts this week is right. I'm not big on Hurts' matchup. Yo, what's up, LeBrons? All right, so that's it for the QBs we got trending up. Let's get into some guys we got going the other way, the less fun names. So I'll start off with Justin Fields. I'll admit in our quarterback rankings last week, I was a little bullish on Justin Fields just because of the ceiling he had been showing for fantasy. But to cover my own ass, I did say that he still looked horrible in real life, but was just getting there for fantasy. So while that was the case, we had to fire him in our lineups. But I think this weekend we kind of saw the downside that is Justin Fields. So he played a bad defense and took 9 sacks and completed 9 passes and threw for less than 50 passing yards, which is just like atrocious from a quarterback. And now there's reports that Tyrod Taylor could end up being the starter at some point this season, which I think that's more smoke than anything. I think it's going to be Fields' job to lose. He's under contract for 2 years, which I think is just malpractice from the Jets to roll into a season with Justin Fields as their starting quarterback. But anyways, as long as he is the starting quarterback, he's going to be fantasy viable. But the reason I'm lowering him is just because I think he's going to be a little more matchup dependent now going forward. You're not going to be able to fire him off against top defenses, and you're going to need defenses that are going to allow yards on the ground to quarterbacks.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that he's showed you his dead weeks, and it's scary. I mean, that offense, when it's bad, it's really, really bad. So you definitely want to pay attention to who they're playing each week.
Yeah, I think we need to. I listed Fields, and I don't think we have any other Jets in here, but I think just throughout that team, we need to kind of temper expectations. And even with someone like Breece Hall, I think,
right,
as sad as it is, as much as we love the talent. All right, Josh, talk about Kyler.
So Kyler, he's on the slide, but like, don't fade Kyler. Like, Kyler is still like probably gonna get you there in fantasy, but in terms of like trade value and stuff like that, I think Jacoby Brissett and how well he played almost made me like dislike like how Kyler's been playing all season. Like they just play completely different styles of football, and it almost looked like Jacoby Brissett being able to pass over the middle and actually feed his receivers efficiently was like really refreshing to see for the Cardinals, for someone who's like been wanting to buy in on Marv and has been like really, I've been on low on Kyler since he got back from his injury 2 years ago. Like when I saw him come back, I'm like, I really don't love Kyler anymore. But I just don't know if he's going to be in that top 15 of quarterbacks anymore where we had him, I think. He's just someone who I want to be cautious with right now. I feel like his value is going down, but it's not like going off a cliff. Like, don't sell Kyler for some peanuts, but maybe move off of him.
I think that's a fair take. Just to talk a little bit about Cam Ward. I mean, if you're in a redraft league, you should already know, right? Cam Ward shouldn't even be on your roster at this point.
It's not his fault.
Yeah, he's the 101 this year, and that team is just garbage. I mean, you heard him say it, like he was like, "We ass" or whatever. But he's, his passer rating has been pretty low. His completion rate has been low. I mean, Yash talked about this a little bit, but just the amount of times that he's dropping back, it seems like too much, and it seems like, the Titans are that offense just like doesn't even know what they want to do. They just fired their head coach. So things are really kind of blowing up in Tennessee right now. If you're a dynasty player, I think that he's maybe an interesting buy if you can get a good deal on him, right? He is the 101. So obviously there's talent there at some point, right? And he should have potential. But it's just going to be one of those years, I think, where we're kind of out on Cam Ward for the rest of the year. And, you kind of wrap this one up, and hopefully next year he can do a bit better and they make some changes. But I'm pretty out on Cam Ward.
To piggyback on your dynasty buy low take, if you can buy Cam Ward at like the price that people were valuing Bryce Young at, like during the whole Andy Dalton, like starting over him and all that tomfoolery, I wouldn't mind it personally. And while we're here, can you pull up LeBron's chats since we have Justin Fields as a follower right now? Because I feel like this is a crazy, just sell off everything New York related. I'm assuming that's Garrett Wilson. So since you're trading CD and Rico for QJ, Hall, and Wilson, and you have Chuba, are you getting CD and Rico? I'm confused which side of this you're on. But right now, I don't think like Justin Fields is like gonna keep dropping back 12 times, bro. Like 20 times next game. I think it was just like a weird overseas game, but
LeBron said he's getting the 3 side of that. Yeah. I think I'm on the CD and Rico side, as wild as that sounds. I just think CD, I think you're selling low on CD in that deal. And I think you're acquiring 3 assets that I feel like all like hold some risk to them.
They all hold like the scary risk of bad team or Quentin Johnston. We still haven't seen that new role with this beat up O line and just like the whole new situation for the Chargers. Like, we just saw McConkey do what we were expecting him to do all season last week. You know, like, I would say last week was in line with the expectations for McConkey preseason.
Yeah.
So I don't love selling CD, especially if you already waited like these 5 weeks, man. Like, I have CD in my Yahoo league, and I just thugged it out with like Trey Tucker as my receiver too. And like, I'm not letting CD go unless I'm getting paid. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a very real world in which Rico crushes for the rest of the season also. Do I think that's for certain? No, not at all. But I think it's a possibility. And if you have Chuba and Rico, you're giving yourself a lot of options there. And I don't like getting rid of Rico and just like relying on Chuba and being like, all right, you know, Chuba's going to come back and he's still going to be viable. That's like just, you know, not something that I'm excited to go and do. So I'm on the 2-man side.
Fiery tutor choking on a hot fry, just very on brand for the right there.
That's why you got those fiery toots, bro.
Waffle.
Yeah, as for Rico, I also am not a fan of selling him right now, just because if he forces any sort of split in that backfield and shows that next week, and let's say for some reason he outsnaps Chuba next week, outproduces him, you're going to be able to get more for Rico next week. I think people still kind of are on a wait and see approach with him. And I think that's kind of where I am too.
He worked his way into a split. Like, that's undeniable.
And and if there's any further injury to Chuba once he comes back, like, he's just going to smash the rest of the season too.
I'm just curious. If you're in the chat really quick, who do you guys like more rest of season, Justin Fields or Kyler Murray? Just like throw it in there. I'm just curious.
Give me Kyler. For me, I'm going Kyler. Like, I know I have him trending down, but that's just like trending down from like QB 12 to like QB 16.
I think I'm going Fields, just because I feel like Fields is like ceiling games are a lot less. You're not going to be able to find those on waivers, and I think you can get what Kyler's doing on waivers most weeks.
That ceiling, at least. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Kyler hasn't shown us like a real Kyler ceiling game in years, it feels like. And Fields has shown 3 this year where he scored over 30. Like, I can't remember the last time Kyler's dropped 30 points.
Yeah.
So I do lean Fields, but also, like I said, with Fields trending down, like, he does run the risk of being benched at any moment. So if you need like someone that's more secure, say I'm in like a 14-team 2-quarterback league, then sure, give me Kyler. But if I'm in just standard 12-team start 1 QB, give me Fields.
And if you give me Eddie Pinheiro, bro. He's averaging like 20 points per game right now.
Yeah, that's an untradeable asset right there. All right.
God, Jake Moody sucks, dude. I'm so sorry, but like, seeing the Bears game, I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy this bum isn't on our team anymore.
Yeah, dude, when he was lining up to kick the game winner, I was just like,
if he missed that kick,
I was really convinced he was gonna miss that.
if he missed that kick, that would have been his last game as an NFL player.
All right, Matt called me out, but I gotta say that team is probably one of the worst fantasy teams I think I've ever assembled in my life. So bad. Let me read.
You gotta show us that team at the end of the stream.
All right, yeah, I'll show it on stream later. But it's not looking good for that team. I had Tyrone Tracy on that squad. I had Marion Hampton. I have Josh Allen, who's like, yeah, I'll show that team later. But it's also a 14-team league. So, like, missing on any picks just, like, screws you over. So, yeah. But, yeah, true. I can't confirm. Can't confirm I'm 5-0 in another couple, though. So, let's get into running backs. First one I tried to think a little outside the box for this one and not get someone that is just, like, clear and obvious. So, I went Derrick Henry. I think people have been really concerned with Henry the last couple weeks. Along with us on this show, we were saying we're moving down Henry. We were fading him in pick'em slips last week. But I think despite not really having great game for fantasy. He got workhorse carries last week. Went for over 120 yards on the ground. Didn't score a touchdown, and was just on the field for a lot of the game. And I think that with Lamar getting healthy, we're just going to see Derrick Henry start to look like Derrick Henry again, I think, rest of the season. And I still think you can buy him at a discount as of right now. So I think we need to start thinking a little bit more about Derrick Henry, kind of in that echelon where we are drafting him. I know if you've been holding on to Derrick Henry, it hasn't been the prettiest to this point, but I think you just got to hang tight, wait for Lamar to get back, which is looking like it's going to happen after this bye week here. I think we just got to ride Derrick Henry rest of the season. I think also, too, with the Ravens, where they're at 1-5 now and are going to be playing in pretty much must-win games from here on out. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of, like, reliance upon Lamar, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers. Like, they're going to try to get their guys the ball. They're going to go out swinging with their guys. That's where I'm at. And I think it's, like, people are worried about him being washed. Like, he's not washed. He still has plenty left in the tank, I think. That's kind of why I'm having him here.
I don't know about plenty. He definitely on E, bro. He's
got a little bit left in the tank, but he's still got
I think he's got plenty left for this season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, DeAndre Swift. We all saw the fantasy score. So my take with DeAndre Swift, especially in fantasy, is like just close your eyes. Like close your eyes to everything you see him do on the football field and just look at the fantasy points, right? I wanted to buy him when he was on the Eagles because that's also how I felt. Like he always just gets like workhorse load. And every season, I just looked at this. Every season he's been in the league, he's gotten 200 fantasy points. He's gotten 198 to 212 fantasy points all 5 years he's been in the league. So I think he's a safe
mid.
Yeah, safe, just like running back too. Like I think I had him too low. I think we all had him a little too low. Let me look at my tier list because Anthony, where are you moving like Derrick Henry next to? Like, are you moving him next to Etienne, Scatabo? Like, where do you have him? Like, if you look at mine, I have Derrick Henry like next to J.K. Dobbins and like JC. Yeah, I had him like super low, even though like he didn't get there in fantasy. The production's there now. He just needs a touchdown.
I have him like high C. I have him around like I have him above Travis Etienne, above Kyron, above Brees, right behind Javonte James Cook.
I think I would move Swift like maybe like 1 or 2 spots below like where you would have Etienne or where you would have.
Oh, wow. Really?
I mean, I might just be too low on Etienne then. If you look at my tier list, I think I have DeAndre Swift in like split work - high upside, as in just like people who are just like high upside plays. I would move him up to my E tier with like Scatabo, K9, Kamara, J.K. Dobbins, JCM. But Scatabo,
wow, you have Scatabo mixed in with those guys?
Scatabo and Derrick Henry just got moved up this week. So that's why they're going to move out of that tier with ETN, I think, to my D tier with Quinshawn, Kyron, and Genty. So I'm going to adjust my rankings, but I like having D Swift in like an E tier, like low end running back 2 with upside.
Yep. I like it.
I think I'm a little lower than you guys on Swift. I talked about it yesterday on our betting show, but I was saying how I did love this matchup for Swift. And Kyle Monangai was banged up. He did end up playing, which didn't seem like he was gonna based off like him missing practice for a majority of the week. But it's clearly Swift's backfield right now, so he's getting the majority of touches. I think yesterday was definitely like the most points he's going to score all season. Just
probably
would almost bet my net worth on that for rest.
Definitely his ceiling.
Yeah, breaking off like a 60-yard receiving touchdown on just kind of a broken play definitely helped him get there. He did look good. Like I don't want to discredit him too much. But like we said, like pretty good matchup against a Commanders team that's been struggling with the run, especially with like outside zone stuff. And that's kind of what we know Swift can do. He can get outside. He can stick his foot in the ground and like make that jump cut to the outside. But but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I'm still liking guys like Scatabo, like Henry over Swift for sure. I think he's mixing in as like an RB2 to flex option depending on matchup. We know he's going to get the touches. We know he might not be the most efficient with those touches. And I do think the touchdowns aren't really going to be there for Swift.
Receivers.
Yeah, I think he's kind of in that like 10 to 15 PPR points per game range, which is fine for an RB2 to flex. Not someone I want to go too crazy about. If you can sell Swift to someone that's like all in, go for it. Yeah, I would like that. But that's kind of where I'm at on Swift. Yeah. Let's get into Scatabo, Dale. What do you got?
Yeah. Talking about Scatabo, I mean, there's not a whole lot needs to be said about Scatabo, right? He's basically the golden child of the NFL right now. It seems like everybody loves Scatabo. He's essentially taken over the work in New York with Tyron Tracy being out of there. I think the thing that also excites me about Scatabo is that you get somewhat of a floor receiving usage with him as well. Week 5, he goes for 7 targets and 6 receptions. Week 3, he goes for 8 targets, 6 receptions, which is exactly what you love to see from these running backs, right? Somebody that can give you a couple extra points in there when the running game is not doing all that great. If you're scared about Tyron Tracy coming back, I would say that don't be, I'm not too worried about Tyron Tracy anymore. I do think he'll probably get a few touches, but to me, it almost just feels like Cam Scatabo is like, everybody loves Cam Scatabo. He puts people in the stadium seats. He's super charismatic. The whole team loves him. The, dynamic between him and Jackson Dart is everywhere. So I think that the NFL is pushing Scatabo right now. I think the Giants are pushing Scatabo. So he's, guy that I love guy that everybody loves, but he's just going to be, I think he's a low end RB1 to low to mid end RB1 for the rest of the season. And if, Tyron Tracy comes out and busts ass this week, maybe things change a little bit, but I'm pretty high on Scat.
Yeah, I think he's low end RB1 rest of the season for me too. To the Tyron Tracy point, if you look at their snap counts, actually, so Cam Scatabo the week before Tyron Tracy was back, week 5 against the Saints, had less of a snap count or less snaps played than he did once Tyron Tracy was back. So if we're worried about Tyron Tracy affecting Scatabo's workload that he got without him there, that wasn't the case in the first game back. So just wanted to put that out there.
I'll add this to Scatabo because I feel like I'm like the only person who's somewhat negative about Scatabo and just like, oh, Tyron Tracy workload. If I owned Scatabo, I would treat him as an RB low end 1. But if I'm buying Scatabo, I'm not paying more than like mid end to high end RB2 prices, just because there is that risk. I don't think it's like real risk, like just like a narrative. I think Tyron Tracy was probably just more of a spot replacement for Saquon Barkley last year. And Cam Scatabo is probably going to be their long-term guy. But yeah, that's all I would say.
LeBron's, just to answer your question, we do have graphics for the rest of season rankings. If you want to join the Discord, I'm sure Anthony can throw that in the chat. But we've got our rest of season rankings as of week 6 posted in there. I'm sure we'll be updating them pretty soon.
Yeah, I'll try to update mine before Thursday. Before the Thursday games.
Here's another question for the chat. Who you guys have rest of season? Scat or Derrick Henry? Who are we thinking, chat?
All right. I dropped the Discord link. Make sure to join that. It's 100% free to join.
Give me Derrick Henry.
I think I'm going to still go Derrick Henry, but that's a tough one. I think pretty similar.
I think you're almost like murked. If you go the Scatabo side, you're almost murked by recency bias with Scatabo just playing like out of his mind, like 2 big upsets for the Giants. Then you have the Ravens, bad defense, Noah, Lamar. Yeah, when Lamar, he'll pick up. I mean, even if the Ravens defense sucks, like, can't we just apply the Cowboys process? Down a lot of games, have to get touchdowns. I mean, you're not going to always throw it to Zay. Like, you got King Henry in the backfield, bro. If you're in the red zone, you're going to give it to him, I would hope.
Yeah. The one knock I might say about Scatabo is that I'm still not all in on the Giants as a team. right? I know that they've looked really good, but they're 2-4, right? I don't know if I see them winning like more than 4 or 5 more games this season. So that's the only thing. He's not on the greatest offense in the world, but I think that you kind of love what he's shown so far.
For sure. Let's get into some running backs that we think are trending down. All right. So this one, I might get some hate for this one, but I got Quinshon Judkins trending down. And this isn't me like reacting to 1 week like, oh man, he had one bust week. Like you can't start him rest of the season. No, that's not what I think. Quinshon Judkins, by the way, is matched up against Miami this week and is just gonna like absolutely smash in that matchup. So if you're wanting to get off of Judkins and as a Judkins owner, wait until this week. He's gonna go nuts against Miami. We all know that. But the reason I have him trending down is just I'm really worried about him getting no receiving work and also his snap count being like the lowest it's been since he's earned that job in a game script like that where the Browns are playing from behind, because I don't think game scripts like that are going to be super rare for this team. I think that's going to be more common than them playing in a leading game script where they're going to be like feeding Judkins the ball 20, 25 carries. I think games like this could be more of the norm for them where they're playing from behind. I don't think it's going to be as bad where Judkins is scoring 3 points. I think we can definitely see him falling in the end zone in some of these matchups, but I am just really worried about the floor and him being a little more of a matchup dependent play. So that's why I'm moving him down, moving guys like Scatterbo ahead of him, that sort of thing. Moving Derrick Henry ahead of him.
Kenneth Walker. Where do we
begin? Wait. What do you guys think about Judkins first? What do you guys think about Judkins?
I still like him. I mean, I just like players who get the workload, right? That said, the Browns stink. Like Dylan Gabriel, I can't imagine he makes them amazing. I can't imagine they have very many red zone drives. To quote Mike Tomlin, I mean, they got to have a really smart head coach for them to trade QB they felt comfortable starting the season with to an in division rival. Like it just feels like the Browns are low key tanking. Like I don't know. I'm not exactly high on the Browns offense, for that reason. I'm not really high on Quinshon as much.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me about Quinshon is that he's not really getting the snaps that you want towards the end of the game when the team is down, and he's not getting the receiving usage. He got a little bit of it in the first couple weeks, but Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson are still players on the Browns, and they're going to get receiving touches.
They love Jerome Ford in that like receiving down role.
Right.
He always is on like 2-minute drill, third down stuff.
Right. So I think that for me, Quinshon Judkins is a matchup dependent kind of mid RB2. Against Miami, I think he's going to be an RB1, but when they're playing, actually, honestly, for the rest of the season, his matchups aren't terrible. He's got Miami, he's got the Patriots, then a bye, the Jets, the Ravens, the Raiders, who are pretty decent, the Niners, who are just injured as hell, and then the Titans. So I actually don't hate the matchups going into the end of the year, but if the Browns are going to be trailing in a decent amount of those, then it's going to be hard for Judkins to kind of get there in fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy playoffs is kind of tough was what I was looking at for him too. I mean, championship weeks, he's got the Steelers once again. Week before that, he's got the Bills, who have shown that they're susceptible to the run, but that game also could just be like a 35-point blowout to where like it doesn't even matter if they can run the ball. So we could see him get scripted out of that. So that's the fear with Judkins. But I agree with your point that he's kind of like a matchup dependent RB2 right now. In good matchups, you can put him in that RB1 range. I think that's realistic expectation. Yeah. All right, Yash, tell me about Kenneth Walker.
All right. I got it. Yeah, I'll unmute myself. To go off of real quick, the Bucky not coming back for 3 weeks. Do not tell that to Frizzle LeBron. He's gonna be pissed. He was in here like last week saying if he should get ahead of the Bucky curve and trade him off before he maybe gets moved to IR. So that's kind of crazy that you're bringing that up now. To move on to K9, I think the K9 Zach Charbonnet stuff is really something you should be paying attention to. Like they're literally sharing the backfield 50-50 in terms of just like touches. And in terms of snap count, Zach Charbonnet is outplaying Kenneth Walker right now. This week, 33 to 18 snaps, which I did not even know. That said, like out of those 18 snaps, Kenneth Walker got 12 touches. That's very encouraging. But I feel like where we have Kenneth Walker at, I feel like you almost want to rank him and Zach Charbonnet exactly the same. And for that reason, if I had Kenneth Walker, I wouldn't mind selling him. I think the reason we saw him kind of beat those Zach Charbonnet coming for his job allegations was Zach Charbonnet getting hurt, him running touchdown hot for a couple of weeks, and now we kind of see like he's not someone you want to put in your lineup. Like I don't like having running backs where I really got to like thunk about him or another guy in the backfield. Like I'd rather just trade him for someone who I don't have to do that. If you can trade K9 for Junkins in a deal, bro, do that. Like I would love that. And yeah, it's the take.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I've kind of been worried about Walker for the last like 2 years, so I'm glad to see everyone's kind of hopping on the train with me. I still think he's talented enough player. I think Charbonnet honestly has been bad this year, but I don't think he's going away. I mean, people are a little short-minded with Charbonnet. Like everyone's calling him bad, calling for his job. Like, are we forgetting like how productive he was down the stretch last year and like how like real life good he was looking? Like he was playing phenomenally down the stretch when Walker was hurt last year. And I think that definitely bought him some respect with the coaches, the players, and I think Charbonnet is not really going away. So I agree with the take that we got to lower Walker because of that.
Tudor, I don't think you're a bad person.
I think that's realism. But yeah, no, I basically agree. It's hard to move Kenneth Walker up or even keep him in the same tier when he's splitting 50-50 touches with Charb.
Talk about Tony Pollard.
Yeah, let's get into Tony Pollard a little bit. I mean, it's similar idea with Kenneth Walker, whereas you've got Tyjae Spears coming back, and Tyjae Spears is taking the receiving work, and Tyjae Spears has been more effective. We also talked about this earlier, but the Titans are just a nasty team right now. So it's kind of a team that I generally want to stay away from. So I know that Tony Pollard has kind of been getting there for you. You know, he gives you 14, 10.5, 15.8, in the past 3 weeks before this one. But I really am just not big on any of the Titans players. If anything, I think that Tyjae Spears could be a little bit interesting, right? He's going to give you that receiving floor. And he's also been more efficient. He goes for 5 rushes for 31 yards, whereas Tony Pollard gets 10 rushes for 34. So I would not be surprised if Tyjae Spears slowly kind of builds up his workload and eventually like takes over this backfield. So Tony Pollard, definitely a name that I'm trying to stay away from right now.
Yeah, I think with Pollard too, there are concerns on if the Titans keep this up. Why are they going to keep rolling out aging Tony Pollard, who's likely not a part of their future of this franchise? Why not give their young guy Tyjae Spears more of a look down the stretch of the season? And I do think he is a candidate to get traded. So I can see things changing with Pollard if that's the case, but I don't want to bank on that. I do think he's kind of one of the more likely names to get moved if a running back trade does happen, though. I saw that the Saints are looking to not move Kamara, which sucks for Alvin Kamara, and he's another name I was thinking about putting on this list of guys here. But because that trade could be in the range of outcomes for Pollard, like I'm still stashing him on my bench for sure. But I definitely don't feel great about putting Pollard in the lineup right now. Like, that's worst case.
Yep. Let's answer these questions before we go to the next slide because I like both of these. Keenan Allen for K9. I know you see the risk, but I think the risk for the Chargers is almost upside for Keenan Allen getting like little quick slants, little slant merchant, little Michael Thomas action,
ATL, if you can hang on just a couple minutes when we get to our wide receivers, I'll give you more of a thought on this. And
they will both. They all come up.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
This one, my initial thought, I don't like it because you're trading someone who's proven receiver 1 to 3 this season for risk, for projections. You're projecting Rico Dowdle to continue being a low end. Well, right now he's like a high end RB1, but like to be a high end RB2, low end RB1. You're projecting Rashee Rice to be a receiver 12. I don't love doing that. I don't like buying 2 guys I have to project. I like buying, a Rashee Rice and a guy who's producing still, like, I don't know, name of running back. Kyron. Like, I like doing that. But
Swift.
Yeah, I don't know about Swift. No. But,
Even
like Derrick
Kyron,
Henry,
man.
like, give me, like, something that, like, I can at least, like, see, like, have a role down the line that I don't have to project it. Like, I have to project Rico Dowdle to split carries. I have to project Rico Dowdle to do 60% with Chuba back. You don't have to do that for Amon-Ra.
I don't love that trade for you. Amon-Ra, we know, is mid-first round startup pick right now for you to redraft. I just feel like that's selling a bit low on him. I think if you want to move Amon-Ra for like a 2-for-1 type of deal, you can get some better names here. And that's coming from someone who's like huge on Rashee Rice the rest of the season. Think he's going to smash. But I still think you definitely got to prefer Amon-Ra to Rashee, like by a pretty big amount at this point.
By chance, just in case too. And then while we get that answer, I also like your bench. So
not that hot, LeBron's.
I was going to say, that's like a warm,
right now.
That's like a warm take. Not even hot.
Yeah, I don't think this happens either. All right, let's start with wide receivers. We can talk to SF a little more about his question as we go. All right, so wide receivers trending up. I put down Jalen Waddle for this one. I'm super encouraged by what we've seen from Waddle in the 2 weeks without Hill. He's gotten there both weeks, and this most recent week, he got there against a Chargers secondary that's pretty good. And it's not a matchup I've been wanting to target for my receivers that I've been facing, the Chargers secondary. So, I mean, we were doing underdog drafts for like the Sunday slate, and I was taking pretty much no Waddle just because of how concerned I was about that matchup. And he got there. And I think we going to continue to see him get there for the rest of the season. We know there's no Tyreek Hill. We know they're going to expect Waddle to be kind of that main targeted guy along with Achane. And this offense is just kind of running through those 2 guys right now. And I think the bigger note too, like we knew Jalen Waddle was good, but we didn't know this offense was going to be good. And I think they're showing right now that they're at least going to be competent, which is good enough for us in the case of fantasy when it's as consolidated as this offense is. We know Waddle's an amazing talent, but I'm just kind of continuing to move him up in my rankings. I think he's kind of in that high-end wide receiver 2 range week to week now, and he's going to be pretty much matchup proof, and you're going to feel good about putting him in your lineup every week. And with where you got him in redraft, going in like around the 5th round, you got to be happy about getting him.
Gotta love having Waddle right now. Literally like the perfect scenario happened for him. Moving on to Booty.
No problem.
So with Booty, the take is simple. We're not bringing him up to like anything crazy. I think you kind of just bring him up from like someone who you don't even consider starting to like someone who you're like, oh, the other team has like really good slot corners and Stephon Diggs is going to get like cooked, and then Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas can cook on the outside. That was actually I was watching takes, and someone had that take for Kayshon Boutte doing good this week was because the Patriots defense is good against like slot receivers or whoever they played. Sorry. So Kayshon Boutte, simple take. He's on the field all the time. He's bound to have good games. Am I putting him over anyone? No. Like, give me Wande over Kayshon Boutte. Give me like half the people on your waivers over Kayshon Boutte. But I would like to pick him up on waivers. I did just drop him this week, and I'm a little emo about that. But I don't think he's a guy you can hate. And before we go to BTJ, before we even go to BTJ, I am known BTJ hater on this channel. And even though he's trending up, I will say it was a perfect spot. Me and Ant talked about this. Even though I'm number one BTJ, even though I'm number one BTJ hater, it was a smash spot for BTJ. Injured defense, like the corner was injured, safety was injured, competitive game. Trevor Lawrence played good. That's great. Love to see it. I'm not putting him in the receiver 1 tier. I'm not putting him as a low end receiver 1. I'll put him as a mid receiver 2, maybe high end, but I want to see it happen more. And I think if you drafted Brian Thomas Jr., you're maybe lying to yourself that you're happy because you just went 5 weeks where he just gave you Wandale, worse than Wandale production. So
Waddle or BTJ rest of the season?
Waddle. I'll let Dale go.
Oh, that's close for me. I feel like they're probably in the same tier rest of season for me. But I don't, somewhat I would agree with what Yash is saying to the point where, I understand that he is not giving you exactly what you love. He's kind of a mid to high end wide receiver 2 for me now.
Look at the playoff schedule.
Let's see here. Weeks 14 through 17, he's facing Indiana, Jets, Denver, Indiana. Yeah, not the prettiest matchups in the world. Here's what I'll say about BTJ. He's clearly the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. He's averaging about 8 targets per game. He finally gets there with his touchdown. It's his first one of the season in 6 weeks. I think that you can expect more touchdowns coming forward for him. So, the talent is there for BTJ. We saw it last year. We've talked about this before, but I think that things will just slowly trend up for him, right? He's going to give you a floor of maybe 10 points, right? Which you're not that happy to see, but in these games where he booms, he can definitely get you there. And I'm a lot more excited to have somebody like BTJ than a Cortland Sutton or a, Michael Pittman or handful of other guys, right? So I'm pretty high on BTJ. I think that he should do better than he did in the first 6 weeks is the bottom line with Brian Thomas.
I like that.
That's about it.
I think you could project him as a 11 point per game guy, maybe.
But
to talk about Frizzle, why was your roster max size? Did you not want to drop Jalen Coker or something? We can move to the next slide.
Known Jalen Coker stan, Frizzle. It's getting a wide receivers trending down. Now we're getting spicy with these ones. I like to see it. My guy put here is Keenan Allen. Now, this is I don't know how people are going to view this one. I think we got to think about Keenan as a flex to wide receiver 3 option rest of the season as things stand. I think that we're seeing Ladd trend up, and I think we're seeing Keenan trend down in this offense. And I think QJ is going to kind of be what he is. He's going to be kind of that like boom bust big play guy. We saw Keenan run super touchdown hot the first couple weeks of the season. First 3 weeks, he scored a touchdown each game, was largely getting there because of that. The volume was okay. It wasn't like anything, wasn't like prime Keenan Allen volume numbers. He had, 10 and 11 targets 2 of those games. But he's seen that trend down a little bit. The last 3 weeks, he's had 7 targets, only converting on 5, 5, and 4. 10.8 PPR points or less in the last 3 weeks, which is definitely replaceable level receiver production. And I think that's kind of what we can expect to continue. We talked about the offensive line concerns with the Chargers, and we thought that could lead to more potential targets for Keenan Allen, a lot of that like quick and easy work. But it seems like the way the Chargers are running their offense, that type of stuff's going to Ladd a little more this year. And they're prioritizing Ladd in the slot and putting Keenan more outside. When Keenan that was kind of what he used to be. He used to be that slot guy that could be that for just sit down think like Travis Kelce, like in zone, like sit down 4 or 5 yards, catch the ball, get upfield. That's kind of what Keenan was doing in his prime. And that's why he was a PPR merchant for so long. So I know we like to think of that role for Keenan Allen, but the Chargers are using him a little bit differently this year. And I think that the offensive line concerns are hurting just this passing game overall. And I think my final rankings on the Chargers offense, and I think this is going to be my final rankings for the rest of the season. I got Ladd, QJ, Keenan in that order. Firm. I'm standing on it. That's my final rankings for those three minus injury. And that's the other thing too. We know Keenan Allen is always at risk to get injured, and being a 30-plus-year-old wide receiver playing almost every snap, like I
really
wouldn't
isn't
be
playing
surprised.
almost every snap though. He got his snap count dropped this week. I wanted to add on something kind of unrelated. Trey Harris, 53 snaps this week with Quentin Johnston out. Very interesting to pay attention to for dynasty and maybe long term. But to move on to Marv, that's basically all. I like the Keenan take. I don't like moving him too far down. Like I wouldn't like sell him yet. I still like the role. I also own him. I just bought him this season, so I might be a little biased. Moving on to Marv. Yep. He has like the big ass horn on his shoulder. Yeah. Keenan the dog, though, bro. You're like Keenan like a goat. Like you can't disrespect goats, you know? That's bad business, bro. But like, you ever like seen the CVS parking lot like the weekend after the first week of college, bro? On Marvin Harrison Jr. I think for me, moving Marvin Harrison Jr., it's almost like Brian Thomas Jr. got all the hate that I should have been giving to Marv, honestly. Like, I feel like I almost like swapped them in my rankings. Like, what does Marv do? Like, I know he's like drafted like 103 or whatever, right? But like, what does he do exceptionally well? Like, he just wins contested catches exceptionally well. But like, I don't know. I don't like their scheme for him. I thought this week was going to be his week with Brissett playing. Honestly, I thought we were going to see like a season high for him. I just don't know what we're waiting for at this point with Marv. It's like last season, what were we waiting for? Receiver 30 finish. This season, what are we waiting for? Kyler to come back? He was playing like a receiver 40 with Kyler. Like, I think it's time to just be a little honest with ourselves with Marv. Like, dude, honestly, Frizzle, hot take. Give me straight up. Like, I will trade Marv for Chris Olave, bro. Like, I'm maybe the highest Chris Olave person ever, just because I feel like he gets disrespected. That's a little side tangent, though. I'll let you talk about Worthy.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of Marv, I think that's a pretty good take, especially with him missing time this year. You know, I've seen other people talking about it, but we're in week 7. And if you're missing 2 to 3 weeks, that's, you know, damn near half the rest of the season. So definitely something you want to pay attention to. It's, you know, worrisome that he's going to be missing time, and his protection this year has been pretty poor as well. Moving on to Worthy, don't get me wrong, I've been really high on Worthy all year. But I think that the elephant in the room with Worthy is that Rashee Rice is coming back. And I think that most people would agree that Rashee Rice is going to be the clear wide receiver 1 there. I think the one thing for Worthy that concerns me is that we've seen, you know, we talked about this a little bit with Drake May, how he spreads the ball around, but these good these good QBs are going to spread the ball around. And, you know, especially this week, we see Worthy with, you know, 2 receptions on 4 targets. And we've seen Hollywood get there multiple times We've seen Tyquan Thornton be incorporated for the deep ball. There's just, there are roles that Worthy does, and it feels like there are other players that are kind of fitting into those roles a little bit. And with Rashi coming back, I just don't know how much room there is for Worthy to really be a kind of top asset. I think that he's definitely an interesting flex play. I think that you can make the argument that he's a solid wide receiver 3 as well. But he's not, I was taking Worthy at pick like 40 in the NFL draft, or in drafts at the beginning of the year, because I was thinking he was going to crush, right? No Rashi for the first 6 weeks. He's going to establish himself. He's going to be a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. But it's just hard for me to kind of keep him in that same tier with Rashi coming back and other players also performing on the Chiefs. Travis Kelce's also been doing pretty good.
He's doing actually very good compared to how people what was he going round 9 damn near an underdog?
Yeah,
Kelce,
something like that.
Really quick, I saw LeBron's comment and it made me laugh because David Bell was my first ever 2nd round pick in Dynasty. And he was by far my worst pick I've ever had. That year I picked Chris Olave, David Bell, Isaiah Pacheco, and Khalil Shakir in my Dynasty draft. So I just thought that was funny. I do like making a 49ers pass catchers thing rest of season.
Let me talk about Worthy first, and then we'll get to the Niners because I do think that's an interesting conversation too. With Worthy, me and Dale view this a little differently. Fun fact, me and Dale just made a trade for Xavier Worthy in one of our Dynasty leagues together, which maybe we can show that trade once we get done with these rankings. But I do agree with you guys that I think Rashee Rice is going to be the wide receiver 1 and main target getter in that offense. But I do think with Worthy, I think we are kind of we're kind of forgetting what he did down the stretch last season a little bit, I think, with Worthy. When all the other pass catchers were down and it was just Worthy and Kelce, it was Worthy getting there every single week for fantasy and getting a bunch of passes at the line of scrimmage, a lot of opportunities to get yak. And we saw him getting downfield a little bit, but there was a lot of plays where Mahomes wasn't able to connect with Worthy downfield. If you guys remember, I think it was against the Bills where they missed a big one where Mahomes had him wide open and would have won them the game. Misses him, overthrows him. And there was another game where there was 2 plays that happened like that. And I don't think it's out of the range of possibilities that we see those guys connect on some of those this season. With the way Mahomes is playing, I wouldn't be surprised to see Worthy once Rashee Rice gets back. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Worthy getting a little bit more downfield targets, especially once his ankle gets back to 100% too, and doing kind of what Tyquan Thornton's been doing a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, that being said, don't want to get crazy on Worthy. This is all hypothetical arguments I'm making, and that's why I also have him moving down. But he's still in that kind of wide receiver 3, more in that boom bust range of guys for me now. Which where you drafted him, you're kind of expecting him to be a little more. So I get the concern. I still am a fan of the talent, and I am buying him in Dynasty.
Let me ask you a question about Worthy.
Yeah.
Who do you view for me? I feel like Worthy is very similar now to Jameson Williams. What would you say about that?
I think that's a fine take. I just think I prefer Worthy just because there's a little less mouths to feed than the Lions offense.
So does that make you project Rasheed as a Monroe?
Dude, yes. Rasheed's
Bring
a
up
dog.
Frizzles. Bring up Frizzles' super hotter take. Because I feel like I'm the only one who entertained this. I'm the only one who hates these young guys, I feel like. I don't hate it. As someone who had the Rashee Rice receiver 2 in the Chiefs offense take last week before this slate, I was actually suggesting we move down Worthy because I was well, we just saw him in this quote unquote scenario where he has no other pass catchers with him, right? And he gave us like what 9 fantasy points. I don't even know what he gave us. I couldn't even see him. I had to scroll down to find him. And I think that's a little disappointing, right? Like, because who are we competing with for targets? Tyquan Thornton, dog. Juju, ass. Like, all those receivers are not like dogs, bro. And it worries me. It really does. And like you're saying, they like to spread the ball out in this Chiefs offense. I don't know if they're going to force feed Rashid then. They have a lot of talent. Like you're telling me last year down the stretch, Xavier Worthy popped because he had no other receivers. Well, this year they got Hollywood, Tyquan, and Juju, and they weren't playing good last season down the stretch. So it worries me a little, and I'm tempering expectations for Rashid Rice and Xavier Worthy both.
Let me just read off these stat lines. This is the first 3 games of last season. 9 targets, 7 receptions, 103. 6 targets, 5 receptions, 75 and a touchdown. 14 targets, 12 receptions, 110 and a touchdown. That was what Rashi did in the first 3 games of last season, and that is a whopping 65 PPR points in 3 weeks.
With a slow start, Kelsey, and a rookie Xavier Worthy.
Okay. Let's make excuses. So let's go back to the season before that. Let's go to the Super Bowl run.
Okay, and they didn't have Xavier Worthy. They only had Rashid Rice and Kelsey.
In that Super Bowl game, 8 targets, 9 targets the week before that, only 4 against the Bills, 12 targets against Miami. I just think Rashid Rice has shown us to be a good player and shown us he can earn targets. I mean, his rookie year, he was the Chiefs wide receiver 1 down their Super Bowl stretch. And I just think that he showed last year he took a big leap, and I think he's going to just continue to trend up. The Chiefs don't have a true slot. They have Juju Smith-Schuster playing majority of slot snaps still, and I think that's going to be Rashi, and I think when they have Rashi playing that role, they're going to make an effort to get that guy the ball. He's going to get some yak opportunities. And I think it's just going to kind of allow them to run the offense a little more like how they planned. They can use Worthy a little more of like down the field stuff, a little more like jet sweeps, do a little more gimmicky stuff with Worthy rather than having to kind of force feed him targets and expect him to be that number 1 wide receiver. I think it's going to be honestly just beneficial for the offense overall. And I think Rice is going to early on project as a high-end wide receiver too for me.
To bounce off of what Frizzle just said, I'll leave with this statement so we can move on. For Worthy, I feel like, not Worthy, for Rashid Rice, if you are buying or selling Rashid Rice, I genuinely think the 2 people involved in that trade, one of them will become a league winner and one of them will become a league loser. Like straight up, because you're buying someone who's projected as a mid-end receiver 1 right now. Like everyone, if you go to any YouTube channel, is going to be like, oh my God, Rashid Rice, receiver 12, because they're all going to pull up the Historica data. That's like, oh my God, he's a dog, right? And then, you have people like me who are like, oh, he's playing with bums, blah, 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 right? So I think if you're buying or selling Rashid Rice, this will actually make or break your season. Because if you're buying him, you're paying a receiver 12 price. He could be receiver 5. I don't know. But if he's not, you probably just sold like a dog. You probably just sold like, I don't know, like an Adunze probably in that trade or something. Like it was probably like some premium assets involved. So if you feel like getting frisky, like if you're a 2-3 team, target Rashid. I don't hate it.
Dale, do you have any counter to those points?
Not really. I'm just in on Rashid. We've talked about it a lot. I'm
not.
I'm excited to see what he does. I think that we gotta leave it up to the football gods and just kind of see how things go.
I definitely think if you do a trade with him involved, that's probably going to be like one of the most impactful trades in your league.
We might have to make a side wager on this one between the 2 of us, 3 of us.
I would love to, dude.
We'll get back to that, but let's talk about the Niners a little bit because we got some questions to ask you about Kendrick Bourne.
Do you want to just pull up the other slide just so Niners they have it to look
at? Rest of the season. Oh, for tight ends?
Yeah, we don't have to go over it yet, just so it's a different screen.
Yeah. We can go to tight ends next. But let's talk about the Niners because Kendrick Bourne is an interesting one because I did have Kendrick Bourne in consideration for my wide receivers trending up. I ultimately chose to go with Waddle just because I think that situation is a lot less murky. I took the easy way out for that one, but I am excited about Kendrick Bourne rest of the season. If you stashed him off waivers, I think you feel good about rostering him. And with how banged up Jawan Jennings is, like
5 broken ribs, high low ankle.
yeah, and apparently he's only actually practiced twice this entire season. I don't think that's a good sign for Jawan Jennings at all. I think the way I'm reading it, once things get healthy, I think I'm Pearsall 1 once he's back. I think I'm Bourne 2, and I think I'm Jennings 3 rest of the season. And if Ayuk comes back, he probably slots in a 3. But the latest I'm hearing on Ayuk is he's unfollowing the Niners on Instagram and not showing up to practice anymore. So I don't know what's going on with that situation.
As a Niners fan, I've never liked Ayuk.
But that's kind of where I'm at on the Niners. Do you guys have any disagreements there?
I like it. As a Niners fan, I'll say that like the Niners always have like this weirdly like low draft capital, like dependable receiver 2-3 every time. It used to be Kendrick Bourne when he was on the Niners with like Jimmy G in them, and then it was Jawan Jennings, and then now it's Kendrick Bourne again. It seems like he's just like a guy who they like to go to on like third down. I feel like. I thought you said Mason Tonjes for a second, or Jake Tonjes. Jake Tonjes is a person I feel like worth talking about, but maybe another time.
Yeah. No, generally I'd agree. I actually could not believe when I heard that Jawan Jennings has 5 broken ribs and 2 sprained ankles. Like, what the hell is that? What are their doctors doing? Like, letting this man play with 5 broken ribs and 2 sprained ankles? Like, come on, man. Like, the Niners are hurt enough. I understand that, like, we want to win games, but is Jawan Jennings like that much of a difference maker to the point where we're still gonna like try to put him in with that level of injury? Like, it's just ridiculous to me. So
I don't him or Ronnie Bell, bro. I don't know if Ronnie Bell's still on the team.
I don't
know. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's gonna be too happy that Jennings is telling people that too. Also, just like if I'm Jawan Jennings, like, why am I telling people I have broken ribs? Do you not think safeties are going to be thinking about that now when he's coming over the middle and he's trying to catch a ball on a dig route over the middle? Yeah, they're going to hit him right in the ribs. Like, just not the smartest thing to tell people that.
Yeah, and if you've had a broken rib, bro, you know, like life just sucks.
I guess he wanted some sympathy points. He wanted people to feel bad for him. He wanted to excuse the lack of production, but yeah, Jennings, wide receiver 3 rest of the season. Yeah, I want to talk about this. Fannin was actually almost who I had for Dallas Goedert, but that was mainly due to the Njoku injury. I wouldn't be surprised to see Njoku miss a week, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be a long-term thing. But I think I still have Fannin rest of the season over Taylor. I like we talked about earlier with the Jets. I think you just got to lower all of them now. We like Mason Taylor. I still think he's a fine stash, but I think Fannin's a better one.
It generally looks like Justin Fields is like scared to throw the football. Like sometimes, bro, like he's like scared of getting picked off, and it's like I'd rather have Cam Ward who just slings that thing, bro. Fannin though, I love Fannin. I love me some Fannin.
Yeah, if Njoku misses, he's gonna smash.
Yep,
But hold on to Taylor, bro. Like if Justin Fields passes more than 13 times and more than negative 10 passing yards, I mean, tight ends are pretty ugly. So
okay.
You want to just
pull up Connor McGinnis's question, and then
I was just gonna say, Dale, you want to take this one? I know you're the Kincaid guy, the resident Kincaid guy of us 3. So
yeah, Connor. Here's what I'll say. I do like Kincaid. The one thing that concerned us a little bit about Kincaid is the amount of snaps that he's playing. So he's still kind of splitting snaps with Dawson Knox. That's the one thing. And he's also been running a little bit touchdown hot. That being said, I'm pretty in on Kincaid's talent. He's pretty efficient. He's been getting there for us this year. So if you really don't have anybody at tight end and you're trading somebody like Jordan Addison, where the QB play going into the future is not secure, right? If JJ McCarthy comes back and that team's just terrible, then Addison's not going to produce. I'd say that as long as you have some wide receiver depth, I don't hate it. But if Addison's like your wide receiver 3 right now and you're about to start Elic Iomanor, then I don't love it. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I pretty much have the same take with you on that. Yeah, ATL, I do think that's true. I think not Mason Taylor. I think Justin Fields only completing 9 passes is like just absurd. And it's ridiculous. And I hope that doesn't happen again. And I was going to say it's an outlier, but with Justin Fields, fuck, man, you never know. So I'm not sure, but I think we got to stash Taylor still, but don't overreact too much and drop him. We still like the talent. We still think he is clear path to being the second target getter there. Yeah.
Connor McGinnis, you just got put on, bro. He the truth. That's all you got to know. He's the truth.
He's the Jets rookie tight end.
I think I did put him as a trending down tight end, though. But
all right, so let's talk about tight ends real quick while we're on the topic. For tight ends trending up, I feel like these ones are all pretty obvious, so we don't really need to spend too much time on any of them. Goddard's
just insane.
You're starting him every week. He's been dominating targets for Philly.
Looking like A.J. Brown.
I think we're seeing defenses put a lot of attention on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and kind of leaving the middle of the field open. They're trying to prevent those like signature like big plays that we grown to know and expect for the Eagles offense the last couple of years. And obviously we haven't seen those yet this year, right? So I think we're kind of seeing defenses allow a lot of targets over the middle. Hurts is targeting Goddard early and often, and he's targeting him in the red zone, which I do think he's going to cool down a little bit with how hot he's been running. But I think you got to fire him up, start him every week. Josh, you want to talk about Kelsey?
I mean, we all see it. It's just he's outperforming expectations. We all thought he was just a washed up old man. Thought he was going to be like a, 9 to 10 point per game guy. He's just getting an insane target share. Patrick Mahomes is looking like his prime again. I mean, I don't even think he's out of his prime, but I mean, got to move Kelsey up to like A tier, I think. Or let me look at your tier list, Ant. Yeah, I would move him above Brock Bowers and Sam Laporta right now until we see more out of those two.
Do you still have Kelsey moving up with Rashee Rice coming back?
If anything, you could almost say like it'll just make him maybe not move him up as much, but I wouldn't move him down. I'd still keep him the same.
Yeah. To address the no Waller take a little bit, we talked a little bit about Waller yesterday. I think that you're not moving Waller down. I think you move him up after his first week for sure, his first couple weeks. But the thing with Waller is that he had almost no production outside of his touchdown this past week. We did talk about how he's getting a bunch of red zone targets, which is very encouraging.
It's like only getting red zone targets, bro.
Yeah, he's like only getting red zone targets. So it's hard to know if that kind of percentage is going to continue. You know, I'm not always the biggest on, players that are running super touchdown hot. So I'm just, I think he's a hold for me right now. He's not somebody that's flying up my rankings, but he's not falling either. To get into Warren, we all know Warren's been fantastic, but I think the thing here is just that he's rising into that kind of S tier, like top 2 tight ends in the league right now. I think that you can argue that he's as good as Trey McBride with the kind of production that he's been getting. In the first 4 weeks, he doesn't score a touchdown, but he still gives you 15, 12, 7, and 18. And then these past 2 weeks, we've seen him get the red zone usage that you want. He goes for 14 and 18. He's consistently getting there on targets. He's averaging, 6, 7 targets a game. So Warren's definitely somebody that I'm all in on. And, I think the Colts look good. And I think that he's probably a top 2, maybe top 3, like receiver in that offense right now.
Really quick before we move on to the question, to answer LeBron's, to piggyback off of Dale, I kind of like the fact he's only getting red zone targets, because when you look at the tight end, like tight ends outside of like the top 8, you're really just praying for a touchdown, like at that point. So I don't hate the fact, like, I think we did the math. It's like 40% of his targets are red zone targets. It's like insane.
Yeah. And I think Dale was on the money with the Waller analysis. I think he's kind of a hold. I definitely do think he's like trending up, but I feel like he was trending up more so like after the first 2 weeks than this most recent week for me. I think you feel good about starting him in Dynasty if you can flip him for anything, considering you probably got him off waivers. I'm doing it unless you really need to start him every week. For this trade that KP asked, I would do this, yes, and go and get JT. You guys know I'm bullish on Matthew Golden rest of the season, and he's low-key just getting thrown in this trade for free. Hampton it seems like Hampton's going to miss more than the initial 4 weeks that we thought, based off most recent reporting on that situation. So I mean, we're already done with 6 weeks, heading into week 7. Let's assume he misses 5 more weeks. You're not getting him back until a week or 2 before the fantasy playoffs, where it might not even matter. JT is going to be RB1 or 2 up until that point. Go and get him.
Yep, I agree. If you can get that injured guy off your team, I think it's great.
And it sounds like you also have a losing record, so you want points now.
Right, absolutely. There's a very real possibility that Hampton, what week's the Chargers by? Week 12. So, like, Hampton literally might just miss until week 12. They have their bye, and he might play week 13. And at that point, like, they still might even bring him back in slow. Like, this is a round 1 running back that they've put a bunch of capital in. So they're not going to, unless they really, really need those wins at the end of the season, I don't think that, he's going to be somebody that's immediately getting just like every single touch in that backfield.
All right, let's get to tight ends trending down. So I have an interesting one for you guys. I have Hunter Henry. This might seem a little hot takey at first, but if you look at what he's done, I mean, he's really had that one like massive spot where he blew up week 3, where he went for 11 targets, 8 receptions, 90 yards, 2 tugs, 29 PPR fantasy points. And then other than that, he's gone over 10 twice, and he's been under 7 points the other 3 games on 3, 4, 2 targets. So he's had 9 total targets over the last 3 games combined, and that's also been with the Patriots offense on a roll these last couple of games. So let's just think about this. In games where Hunter Henry isn't being targeted with majority of target share, those have been the games that the Patriots have been successful in. So why are they going to change what's been working, right? And I just think we need to lower Hunter Henry a little bit in expectations, whereas a couple weeks ago, he was probably in like the low end tight end 1 range where you're starting him every week. I think he's now kind of in that like fringe starter tier of guys for me. I think I'd prefer Fannin to him rest of the season. I don't feel great about starting him anymore. I think I prefer Kelsey to him. I definitely prefer Goddard. Definitely prefer Jake Ferg. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Hunter Henry. What do you guys think about that?
Love the take.
Yeah, I would agree. The one thing that I'll say about Hunter Henry that kind of might keep me a little bit high on him is that I don't love the Patriots wide receiver core. We just saw Diggs kind of have a dud game. It doesn't seem like there's really a clear-cut guy there right now. We also talked about how Drake May might be spreading the ball around a little bit more. So in that case, I think that Hunter Henry's a little bit interesting, but he's definitely not in that kind of, top tier that I think that a lot of people had him in at the beginning of the season. Jonnu?
Yep. Yeah, let's talk about Jonnu.
Jonnu, I mean, it's not like we're moving him down from anywhere too high, but we did have him ranked. I think he just goes from someone who you might have rostered to someone who should just be on waivers. Gets outsnapped by Darnell Washington, and Pat Freiermuth is getting involved. It's like a three-way at tight end. It's like, do we really want to get into a three-way at tight end? I'll use this moment to highlight Darnell Washington, low-key a riser. I wouldn't hate buying him in Dynasty if you can get him as like a sneaky throw-in. But yeah, that's all I got. Nothing too crazy.
Is Arthur Smith finally breaking up with Jonnu Smith?
No, I hope not. That's going to make me so sad. He still plays a lot, but I mean, there's only so much you can do with the Steelers, bro. The Steelers are always just like a weird team. So
yeah, I think that's a good take. Juwan Johnson, moving to him. The main reason why he's falling in my rankings is he just hasn't really been getting the receiver usage that he was in the first 3 weeks. First 3 weeks he goes for 11 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets, and he's averaging above 10 points per game every single time. And in the last 3, he goes for 3 targets, 4 targets, and 2 targets, and he's barely getting over 5 points. He gives you 3 last week, and he gives you 2 this week. So given that usage, and with Taysom Hill kind of being healthy again and being in the offensive scheme, I don't think that Juwan Johnson is somebody that I can confidently start in my lineup every week. I think it's pretty likely that you got him off waiver wires. So if you're losing him, probably not the end of the world, but just, not somebody I'm loving starting.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I view him very similar to the way I view Hunter Henry now, but I definitely prefer Hunter Henry of those two. I think Juwan you can pretty much drop him in most formats. I think Hunter Henry you still stash. It's the difference between the two. All right, so I think that wraps up all the players that we have trending up or trending down. Thank you guys for watching those rankings. I think we're going to stick around for a bit longer and go through some other stuff if you guys have
fun tool.
A little bit of time. So I came across this yesterday. So this is a website called Dynasty Daddy, which is more targeted at like dynasty fantasy football players. And you can sync your leagues to it. It's a pretty cool website, completely free, by the way. And they have this interesting tool right here called WAR, which for those that don't know, it's wins above replacement. And basically this tool is showing how much your players are mattering and how much of an edge they're giving you at that position, right? So it's accounting for how many starters you have in your league, how many points they're averaging per game, how many points per game their counterparts are scoring. And it's just kind of all encompassing that into one score called WAR. And it's not perfect, but I just think this is very interesting to go through and see kind of tiers of who's actually mattering on terms of getting you fantasy wins right now. And these, as of right now, there's 6 guys in this league breaker tier. There's CMC, there's Puka, there's JT, Bijan, JSN, and Amon-Ra. Those guys have kind of been separating. A-Chain's right behind them, pretty much in that tier as well. Are you guys surprised to see any of these names here?
No, I don't think so. I think that these are kind of all of the top fantasy assets we've seen. I will say I'm a little bit surprised to see Javonte as the 8th ranked player in WAR.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the biggest surprise to me. I mean, George Pickens is pretty high, but he's been really elite.
Surprised to see Chase still so high considering how slow he started.
Yeah, but he has had 2 kind of big blow up games the past couple weeks, which I'm sure has kind of reignited the faith there.
QJ.
Yep. All right, so let's do this. Let's go by position with these and see if there's anything that we feel is noteworthy. So let's start with quarterbacks. First, foremost, none of these guys are separating. Besides Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar. Even though it says they're still starter tier, you just look at the WAR and it's clearly these three.
I think it's wrong. I think the tier should end at Daniel Jones. Look at the drop off from Daniel Jones.
Yeah. It's probably just the threshold is 0.09. Yeah, what do you guys take away from this? I think this reflects our rankings pretty much, right? We were kind of saying you want to have one of these guys or you don't feel good about playing anyone else. I think the other guy we had in that conversation was Jaden Daniels, who I think because he missed some games, I think he's not or actually no, I think he's just at a 0 WAR right now along with Herbert and along with Fields.
Go buy Daniel Jones, bro. Disrespected by the model, disrespected by the people. I would love buying Daniel Jones if you have a bummy QB right now.
Just to get to a couple questions in the chat really quick. Connor asked about a McLaurin take. Personally, I'm not super high on McLaurin for the rest of the year. I do think he's going to come back in and kind of be a viable flex play. But I do think that Debo is a little bit more talented than McLaurin personally. So I do have Debo over McLaurin for the rest of the year. I do. I know that he was, fat Debo last year, but I feel like, historically Debo has been a little bit better than McLaurin. So I have I have Debo over McLaurin rest of the year. I know that McLaurin and Jaden Daniels had a bunch of connections last year and they have a ton of chemistry, or it seemed like they did. But I don't know. I like Debo. I think that he's going to eat into McLaurin's touches. I don't see him being like a wide receiver 1 or 2. I think that he's kind of a wide receiver 3 or flex for me. He didn't really produce in the first 3 weeks. So I'm a bit pessimistic on him.
Also, guys with preseason drama, I always just tend to be kind of off on. It's like, I just don't like drama. I don't like divas in my locker room, personally.
Right.
Should I give Barkley and BTJ for Jacobs? I would not. I feel like that's a little bit of a panic sell with Barkley. I do like Jacobs a lot, but I think better days are ahead for Saquon.
And either way, I would say the tier up from Barkley to Jacobs is significant, but I don't know if I would want to give up a piece. You could probably sell for more to the right owner. And you see other people are really high on BTJ still.
Well, let's look at WAR for running backs. What are your guys' takeaways from these top guys? CMC, JT, Bijan kind of in a tier of their own.
Right.
I think the biggest difference between this and our rankings is Gibbs.
I agree. I think it's just a natural thing that happens with young players in the fantasy community, just wanting to project young players to be really good all the time.
Yeah. Do you think Gibbs is any bit of a sell in redraft?
Probably. People probably see him as a running back too. In reality, the RB2 is probably CMC or JT. I mean, one of them's number 1. Let's put it that way. I think you could probably scam someone into getting Gibbs for Bijan, JT, or CMC. I think you could easily upgrade to those. Yeah, that is crazy. I was peeping Scatabo.
Yep, Scatabo right there. Scatabo of Saquon. Who would have guessed? You got Bucky, Etienne, Rico Dowdle, Hampton, Swift. I guess Swift is pretty high on here.
Breece Hall is surprising to me.
It's very low. He's had some floor weeks, though, so I think it does make sense. And then we got Kenneth Walker and bench piece, Tony Pollard, Rashad White. We go to the next page. It's James Conner, Quinshon Judkins.
He didn't play the first few weeks.
Yeah. Where do they have Travion? How far down do you have to scroll for him?
Right here.
Wow.
Negative WAR. RJ Harvey, negative.
Woody.
Tyrone Tracy. Woody. Yep. JCM, barely squeaking in the starter range.
That's kind of impressive, though. Yeah. He's only had two like full starts.
I think the big takeaway from this is Gibbs. Gibbs is a guy that I think we might be overvaluing. That's what this is telling me. That's what's popping. And I think Javonte still might be a buy. I think our takes were pretty right. And I think now, after he kind of had a floor game last week, I think now could be a good time to buy.
Definitely feel like there's a lot of like, what is it? Like the pink rose shaded glasses for anyone on the Lions. I feel like look at where Laporta is right now. Real quick. I know everyone's interested about receivers, but while we're on the Lions, this is like another guy who I feel like is really overvalued. Or maybe not. Maybe I undervalue him, but I don't know. I feel like everyone really views like these Lions pieces as like premier pieces. I mean, like I'm on as a dog, so like, don't get me wrong, but
yeah. Well, I guess the Debo over Terry take might not be too crazy considering where Debo's factoring in here. We have this honestly is pretty reflective of the rankings. I feel like I think Pickens is the biggest difference. I would say
QJ in the top 10.
QJ's high. Justin Jefferson's a little lower, but I think that's kind of due to him having some like bit of floor weeks. But I think he'll move up as the season goes on.
Almost like Justin Jefferson being separated a tier out of
Keenan's still pretty high. I think Waddle's going to keep going up. I think Waddle might sneak into elite.
Trey Tucker, baby.
Trey Tucker's very high. Trey Tucker's ahead of Devontae Adams.
My boy, bruh.
Wow.
I have to drop one of these. Who do you have to drop? Connor, give us your options. I didn't see your thing. Nico's pretty low. I'm not surprised. CJ's been playing bad.
CeeDee Lamb, but he's missed. Ricky Pearsall, Diggs, Wandale. Wandale right next to Tet. Maybe you're not that crazy, Yash.
And next to Chris Olave. Would you look at that?
Let's go.
Actual takeaway, though. Look at Ricky. Look at where Ricky is and where CD is. They've both played like one game this season. So I think I ranked Ricky with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice in my thing. So I personally love buying Ricky Pearsall. I think he's a lot more talented than the other receivers on the Niners right now.
Let's go to tight ends because this is just very reflective of our stances that all these guys are the same. I think Jake Ferguson, we're going to see him take a hit once Lamb comes back. I can see as the season goes on, Warren and McBride kind of starting to separate from the rest. I think that's very feasible. I think we could see Ferguson bump down a little bit. I think Goddard's due to bump down a little bit. I can see the season finishing with Warren, McBride as elite, everyone else kind of in that starter range. You feel good about anyone from Darren Waller up, I would say. And even Brock Bowers once he gets back. But Harold Fannin barely not making it. Pitts not making it. Hunter Henry right off the cutoff, and considering that one mega week he had, I think that's worrisome. Albert O. Right behind Jawan. Yeah. Mark Andrews way down here. Any takeaways with tight ends?
Connor, how many people are in your league? Is it like a 12-man? Because honestly, I don't like dropping any of those players. I like packaging one of them with McLaurin and making a trade for a slight tier up. Let's go to the receiver war tool while we're here. Let's cook something up. I feel like that's in a 12-team or two, one of those guys is instantly getting picked up tomorrow morning.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about tight ends is we saw Goddard there at third. If I can trade Goddard away for like a decent piece right now and my backup tight end is solid, I think I'm okay with it. I don't know if I really see Goddard as being like the kind of difference maker that Tyler Warren or like, Trey McBride or even like Kelsey has been for the rest of the season. So if I can get a good value for Goddard, I'm doing it.
I do got to get out of here shortly, but Connor will talk through this before we get on out of here. The most droppable if you can't do a trade to me would probably be Jennings, just because of all the injuries he's battling. And then
Really
Dobbs.
like Dubes. But Dobbs probably has like one of the lower. He probably has the lowest ceiling.
Yeah, he has the lowest ceiling for sure, but he's the only Packers receiver that's actually playing all the snaps right now. So I don't like getting rid of that.
Players to target. Try to buy Debo with Terry McLaurin. That happened in my league. The Terry and Debo like owners did a trade. You could just bet that guy doesn't like Debo. When Terry comes back, you could
trade Tucker.
Not trade. I mean, honestly, if you're gonna drop one of them anyways, sure. But I would like going down to like Chris Olave, Wandale, at those three guys, the Tet, the Wandale, the Chris Olave. You could probably get Chris Olave for Terry McLaurin and Juwan Jennings.
So, yeah. I want to ask about JSN being in this league breaker tier. Were you guys kind of expecting that? And do you think we need to reflect that more in our rankings? I remember I had him initially in my S tier, and you guys both said you had him in A. So we moved him down to A. Should he still be an A? Or do you think we can bump him into S tier?
Yeah, I had him at top of A. I don't really see the problem with moving him up to S tier. I mean, who is he competing with for targets? Cooper Kupp. I saw that Cooper Kupp's been like having like a weird like invisible stat sheet role, but he's having like a very like impactful role for them. So I like JSN.
The one thing that concerned me about JSN, I'm not going to lie, I haven't really watched the past 2 weeks of JSN. I mean, he's exploded in fantasy. The one thing I will say is when we went and got dinner and we were watching that Cardinals-Seahawks game, I was legitimately concerned about JSN because in the first half, he did absolutely nothing. And they were like running the ball to JSN, which was so weird. Since then, he's totally bounced back. And I think that I'm okay with putting him in S tier for now. But I'm just I'm hoping that this usage continues. And as long as it does, he's definitely an S tier wide receiver.
Yeah. It's funny that game you're talking about because that's literally the least productive half he's had all year. And, of course, that was when I bet his first half receiving yards that day. So, it's just some unbelievable stuff there. But last week, he had a really good game. He got there with the 60-yard bomb, where he just burnt his guy. And really looks like he's taking that third-year leap kind of into superstardom like we thought was possible when he was drafted. I think you got to put JSN in S. And Darnold's balling, dude. As a resident, OG Sam Darnold, not believer, I'll admit I was wrong on the take, and Sam Darnold is definitely going to be here to stay as a quarterback in this league. He's been really efficient throwing the ball deep too. And he's just one thing about Darnold, he knows how to throw to his wide receiver ones. Look what he was doing with Jefferson last year, and now look at what he's doing with JSN. He knows how to get his guys the ball, which is nice because some quarterbacks, Justin Fields, don't know how to do that. But
here's a takeaway. Based off of last season and the season draft positions, I was almost say that JSN should have been drafted where BTJ was. And they should have been swapped in terms of ADP and with hindsight bias, of course. But
I was crushing the JSN this year. I'm not going to lie.
Round 3 JSN
I was not drafting
so nice.
enough of him, man. I was just worried about him in underdog drafts like PPR or half PPR format because he's kind of been a PPR merchant the first 2 years of his career. But this year he's getting used way more downfield and actually making the big plays. I was wrong, but you got to adjust. All right. Yep. Thanks everyone who hopped in the stream today. We're going to get out of here. I'm probably going to publish the rankings as a separate video. So if I do that, make sure to drop a like on that, leave a comment. It helps the channel grow. Make sure to join the Discord. I'll drop that link one more time. 100% free to join. We're always in there talking ball, hanging out. Thanks all you guys. Shut up today. Thanks Yash and Dale for hopping and talking ball. See you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Deuces.